Okay, it's 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 2 o'clock here in Oklahoma, and 1 and 12 further west. It's Greg Stump. I am the new VLab Project and Community Owners Meeting Organizer. This is the meeting that was formerly called the VLab Focal Points meeting. We're going to try to take it into a slightly different direction, and I think we want to kind of uh, use this new name to highlight who this meeting is for, both for projects and community owners, the two sides of the VLab. I actually am out in Norman, Oklahoma. I am stationed. I'm one of the MDL Decision Support Branch virtual employees stationed at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. So I think we have SSMC to room 10300 on the line. You were muted earlier. Steve Smith, are you in the room and are you ready to talk?
This is John Chattel, and I guess Steve is detained. He may be a few minutes late, although I do believe he's intending to join us. So perhaps I can say welcome to everybody, and if there are any new people attending this meeting for the first time, you're getting in on the ground floor, so awesome. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Greg.
Okay. So anyway, we are actually having technical difficulties for the first meeting that I'm working on. Our project spotlight person, Russ Erb, is dialing in from home, and he is unable to hook up his audio at the moment. We're trying to work through those technical difficulties right now. So what we might do, unfortunately, he's only available to be with us for the next 15 minutes, and then he has to run. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and let Ken Sparrow talk for a little bit on what's new with the VLab, and hopefully I'll hear from Russ here soon before he has to go, and if he does and we don't get a chance to speak, perhaps we can add him to the agenda for the next meeting. So Ken, you're unmuted now if you want to go ahead and talk. And let me know if you want me to share your screen as well.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Yes, Ken, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So, things that are new this month. So we've been actively working on a new capability for finding an expert. That's something I think that'll be exciting for people. It's basically going to give people the ability within Virtual Lab Collaboration Services of searching for users that are within VLCS. It also gives people the ability to update their profile so that they can add tags. For example, maybe they're an expert within Java or statistical post-processing or a severe weather expert. And so whatever makes sense that you would want to share with others. And then when people search, will be a new user search portlet that will then give users the ability to find people that have common, or are an expert in certain areas. And so that's going to be rolling out pretty quick. And so that's, I think, an exciting capability. On the projects and community side, we continue to grow. There's been a lot of activity since last meeting, and what I can do is I can send out an update with information on the new communities and projects. I didn't get a chance to review that before this meeting, but I can send that out as a service after the meeting in an email format. So those are a couple of the things that what's new with regard to us, and I'll leave it at that at the moment. So.
Okay, Ken. We are still having difficulties. Russ said he's called into the private line, but I am unable to hear him or see an icon for him on here. This is my first time organizing a go-to meeting. John, if you're in the room, do you know how to get him on the? He's calling from home. He doesn't have a computer with a microphone, so he's using the private line. Is there something that needs to be done to get him to connect in?
Make sure that he's using the pen. There's an audio pen, and make sure that that he's typing that in, because otherwise I don't think it'll allow um, him to talk.
And you can I believe prompt him by sending the pin to him. That may help. If you mouse over his entry in the attendees list, one of the options should be to send pin.
Yes, I've been chatting with him privately here on
Yes.
the side. So, Ken, I had sent you an email earlier today regarding the new Jarrett stuff. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I could do that. Hopefully we'll get let me go ahead and bring up that page. So if you want to go ahead and share my desktop.
Um, okay, Ken, it should be switching over to you.
Okay, it's giving me a second. One sec. Okay, so are you seeing? You guys should be seeing the VLab Project Community Owners meeting. Is that correct right now?
I'm
Yes. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So let me go ahead and bring this up. So one of the things that's happened, I guess I could mention this as well, that's happened recently is we did upgrade Garrett, which is the code review component of VLab, and on the development services side. It was a long time coming. We were about 2 years out from the most recent version, or we were running about a 2-year-old version. And so there are some, the one thing that really most of the improvements and things are behind the scenes, but there is a change to the code review screen itself. And I know that for a couple users, there's been an adjustment associated with that. So I'm going to run through that real quick. So one of the things that we do too, just so everyone knows, is if you're wanting to be aware of new things that are happening, we do use news events within the Virtual Lab project. And so you can see here Garrett was upgraded. The latest version was the last one that was added. And you can actually subscribe to those news events and get emails when things come up. So this is a page that shows the change review itself, change screen, and then I can bring up another. So this is what the new change screen looks like. For most people on here, you're probably not using the reviews, and so this isn't really relevant, but if you happen to be, it'll be very relevant for you. So I apologize for those of you that don't use Garrett, but the main point is that the look and feel of this page has changed, and the key differences is that the way in which you get to certain components. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and so that link will take you and give you more descriptions. But what I find more useful is actually going to it itself. So log in, and I'll give you a real-life example. Okay, so changes, and so so this is one here. So this is a change review screen, and on the upper left-hand side, so this is just to bring everyone on board. What we're talking about here is someone's made changes within one of the underlying code repositories on their end, and they're pushing the change up to the repository. And if the project is using Garrett, the code review component, and specifically Git with Garrett, then you can push a change up and have it be reviewed before it ever shows up in the destination branch, or in other words, the repository in VLab. And so we use this within many projects. It's required for all AWIPS projects, and so we find it very, very useful. And so on the left-hand side, so this is a change that's been proposed for VLCS by Mike Giebler, one of our developers. And so basically, the left-hand side is the commit message. We reference a valid issue so that we have that accountability. And then so you can get a description of what's going on here. The code itself is listed down below. And then you can click on each of those entries and see a side-by-side comparison. Green would then show you, new additions. Red would show you things that have been removed. And you can loop through all the different files. This is really no different than what was there before. The difference is the layout of this page. And so some of the key differences are the download. So it used to be that the listing of how you would actually download the patch so you could run it locally on your machine. Now it's up in this area up here, so you can download it as a checkout or a pull or archive. So you basically come in here, click on this little link. That will copy it into your queue, and then you can paste that into your terminal on your machine and download that. So if you wanted to run the code itself before as part of the testing procedure. So that's a little different. The other thing too is you might not know right away, okay, I've done the review. How do I say, yeah, it looks good, it doesn't look good? And that's via this reply button at the top here. So you click on reply. You can make your comment. Depending upon your roles, most people are just going to have the code review, and most likely it'd be -1 to +1, meaning that if I click on that, it's -1, meaning I would prefer that you didn't submit this, +1 meaning you do. The intention of me giving this right now isn't to give you an overarching overview of Garrett and code reviews, but mostly what's changed. So the key is clicking on the reply. And then sometimes when a change comes in, if something's changed in the baseline, so you can envision a situation where I've got a change and I push it up to be reviewed, and someone else does the same thing within the repository, and because of timing and things like that, their change, even though it came after yours, may get approved first, and so it gets merged into the repository. Well, at that point in time, you would be in a situation where the code which you base your changes upon is out of date now, and there are newer things in the repository. And so that would then be a situation where you would rebase your changes. And that most of the time can be done automatically. In this situation here, it's saying it cannot merge. So this is where someone manually actually has to go in. And that ties in with the other difference, and that is if there were conflicts and things like that, or if there are related changes, they would all be displayed in the upper right here. For this one, there isn't. But so anyway, so that's that. And I think those are really the big differences. It takes a little bit of getting used to if you've done a lot of work with the previous version, but I think you'll find it to be useful. And then there's a history at the bottom that's going to show you if there's like a Jenkins job that gets kicked off to do the verification, it would show that there as well. So I guess, are there any questions concerning this?
If you have a question, let me go ahead and unmute everybody. Does anybody have a question for Ken regarding Jarrett? Okay, sounds like that's it for you, Ken.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and we'll switch the screen over back to myself. I think you need to, let's see, here we go. Okay, so we should be seeing my screen now. We're still having audio difficulties getting Russ Erb to connect to our GoToMeeting. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to postpone his presentation to the September meeting because he has to leave. So in the meantime, I'll go ahead and I'm going to give you one first fast fact about the VLab, and that is the types of communities that are available. We have three types of communities. They're private, restricted, and open communities. And what I've got showing on my screen right now is a list of all the communities that I'm not a member of, or if I am, it says in the rightmost column over here, if you can follow my mouse, to leave a community. So essentially, an open community is one that's open and visible to everybody in the VLab. And if you want to join that community, you just hit the join button and you're automatically placed inside that community. A restricted community is one where the owners of that community have to grant you access. So as you can see, that top community in my list, the AWC web community, says request membership if I want to join that. So if I click that, I have to wait for the owners to say yes, and then they'll add my name. And then finally, there's a third kind of community, a private community. You won't see any of those in this list because that's the whole idea behind their privacy, is that they're not even listed on the community name. So in essence, if you want to become a member of a private community, you have to know about it and you have to be invited in by those community owners. So, okay, that's fast fact number one. And next we are going to turn it over to Laura Cotray, who is going to be talking about subscriptions and notifications in various areas of the VLab. I'm going to go ahead and unmute her and share the presenter over to her. Laura, you should see the request now, and you should be able to talk as well. Are you there?
Yes, thank you, Greg. So I am in the process of sharing my screen now. The subscriptions and subscribing to blogs and message boards, also known as forums, are easy ways to become aware of specific topics. So let me know if you can see my screen.
I am not seeing it yet.
There are several ways to...
Laura, we're not...
Right now,
there's your screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We can see your screen.
Okay, great. So I went to a community to which I belong. I'm a member of the FACES community, so I can subscribe myself to their forums and blogs. I would just go to the forums, and here on the right, it says subscribe to this feed. So I can subscribe to the forums, or I could also subscribe individually to a thread topic. To subscribe to the forum, I would just click this subscribe. If I don't want to subscribe to the whole, all those topics, I can subscribe individually. Once I'm subscribed, I will receive the email messages of any threads or replies to the post. Previously, I had not subscribed to any of these threads, so I did not receive them, but after this, I should be able to receive them. Also, as a community owner, you can subscribe your members. So I will go to a community for which I am an owner and show you how to do that. So for my members, I would go to the administration page. Now I need to get to the configuration and the message board subscription manager. Okay, I don't have any. I need to go to another community. So I believe the test community, I have privileges there. Just have to make sure not to send these messages to everyone who belongs there. State community administration, configuration, message board subscriptions. Okay, so I will go to manage the subscription. So for example, if I wanted to, as a community owner, if I wanted everyone to be a member, I could select individually to subscribe them, or I could choose all of the members. Now, currently there's not an option to subscribe all, so to save myself some time, I would display this list as 75 users per page, and then I would click this button to the left of the first name, and it'll select everyone on this page. So it'll be 75 people, even though there are 29 pages. So I would, if I wanted every member of my community to be subscribed, I would do it this way, and then I would select subscribe. So right now, I'm not going to do that because I don't want everyone to receive these messages, but this is the way you would do it here. Let me uncheck that. The message board is also known as forums, and you subscribe to the blogs and the forums in the same way. The difference between the blog and the forum is that the forum is a discussion between more than one person. You could go back and forth and reply, post questions and reply and give answers. The blog is a one-way, a one-sided. For example, someone standing on a soapbox giving information. Probably a subject matter expert might have a blog. The next topic I would like to discuss is the notifications via announcement portlet. So I will go to a community for which I am an owner, and I will add an announcement already. I guess I could remove it and add it again. So you would go to the ad for the community owners, and in the application, you would pick announcements. If it doesn't highlight, you can click on the ad part, the text for the ad. In case it doesn't give you this bar across the top when you click over announcement, you look for the ad on the right. Manage your entries. You could say the scope. Whom would you like to receive this announcement? Normally, I might say the site members, community members, and I would add an entry. Let's say announcements. I could say we're going to temporarily shut down. All right. You would type your announcements here. I'm going to put a test in case I don't want anyone to receive this test. Demo. We'll say demo. Okay. You could check if it's news or a test. I'll say test just in case anyone receives this. You could decide when you want this to display. Maybe we won't do this temporary shutdown until the weekend. Or maybe we'll do it now while people may be logged on, so I want to let them know. I would like this to expire earlier, and then I would save it. So everyone who's a member of the site should see an announcement showing that there will be a temporary shutdown. You can add an alert the same way. An alert has a higher visibility than the announcement, in that there's a red box highlighted around the portlet. Okay, did I already add one? I may have already added one. This square, solid square box, it means that an alert can only be added once, whereas this box with the 4 squares, it means that that portlet can be added several times. So I may have already added one to this page, but it's the same as the announcement, except it has a higher visibility. Are there any questions so far about either the subscribing to the blogs or the announcement? Okay. The one other thing I would like to bring to your attention is that you can choose how you, as a user, you can choose how you receive the messages. If you go to My Account and Announcements on the right under Miscellaneous, you can say how you would like to receive the alerts and announcements here, via email, text messages. That's a way for you to, users and the community owners, to have more control over streamlining how to receive notifications. Does anyone have any questions? And if you have questions later on, you could send an email to the vlab.admin@NOAA.gov. I think that's all for me, Greg, unless you have any questions.
I don't have any questions, and I thank you a lot, Laura, for the information. I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen back to me.
Greg, this is Russ. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You want to go ahead and give your presentation?
Oh, sure, I can do that. Yes, yes. Sorry, at this time I pushed in 40 pounds and it worked. I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
So, Russ, you should be seeing my screen now.
I sure do.
And just go ahead and prompt me to go to the next slide. Thanks, Russ.
Okay. Great, great. Hi, thank you. My name is Russ Erb. I work at the National Water Center in Silver Spring. With the reorg, there's a water center in Silver Spring. There's one in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and an office we have in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Today I was asked to talk about the Community Hydrologic Prediction System, known as CHIPS, and its use in VLab. I was not aware of these meetings being held monthly. Gotham Sood, who is our software manager, he attends these regularly and was asked about presenting how we use VLab for chips, and I've just become the project manager for chips, so he asked me if I could come and speak to that. So that's why I'm here. Don't know much about VLab, but I assume you guys don't know much about chips, so maybe we'll learn something from each other. Okay, Greg. Where did CHIPS come from? Well, CHIPS is the main hydrologic forecasting tool used at all of our 13 RFCs. That's been going on for about 4 or 5 years now. That's used at all of the RFCs. There was a CHIPS prototype project that happened a few years previous to that. It might have been 2008 timeframe. I've been there earlier, I'm not sure, but there were 4 RFCs that were looking for replacement for the National Weather Service River Forecast System, and we had a few-year period where we were using this new system called CHIPS. And as I had in my second point there, it's being used to replace the NWS RFS system, which has been in place since the mid-'80s and was running straight through to 2010. That system is, it's Fortran based, homegrown file system, instead of a database to maintain all of the data. It was originally done on the mainframes, the NAS 9000, and then eventually ported over to Unix workstations, and then a GUI was added, known as IFD, or Interactive Forecast Display, and that's where it was up until actually a few years ago. And what we did was we now have replaced that with the CHIPS system. And the CHIPS is made up of 4 main components, something called Fuse, the OHD core, the HEC-RAS, and the RES-SIM. And the Fuse, the Flood Early Warning System, is developed by a company, Delft, which is in Delft, Holland, in the Netherlands. And their Fuse system is not only does the displays, it maintains the database, it manages the workflows, it's managing the full system of hydrologic forecasting. And it also does contain some hydrologic models and some rainfall runoff models, and it does do some processing on the precipitation. And that's the base system you get with Fuse. That is used throughout the world. They have, Deltaris has clients in Europe, Australia, other federal agencies in the U.S., and other places in Europe. So this Fuse is the main component of what we call CHIPS, the main driving force. Then there's a OHD core, and that is made up of Fuse adapters and hydrologic models that were developed at the National Water Center, formerly OHD, and mainly that's where they were developed, and which plugs into Fuse. So the OHD core, as I said, things called Fuse adapters, and that's how we communicate between our hydrologic models we have and the rest of the Fuse system. The models that are in the OHD core are the same models that we originally had in the NWS RFS. There are a few of them are just left as is, and they are Fortran programs that run, and the Fuse adapter does talk between the models and the main Fuse system. But quite a few of our models have been converted over, rewritten into Java, and that fits nicely into the overall CHIPS system. There are 2 other components that come. I'm sorry. Can you go back one, please, Greg? There are 2 other components that come out of the Corps of Engineer Hydrologic Engineering Center. One known as HEC-RAS, the other one known as RES-SIM. They do have other hydrologic models, but these are 2 that were brought in to be used in CHIPS with Fuse. that were requested by a couple of our RFCs. And so what was done was that the HEC-RAS engine and the ResSim engine that was written and developed by the Hydrologic Engineering Center at HEC at the Corps of Engineers was then ported to run on a Linux machine, because those run on PC machines. So it was taken, ported over to run those engines on the Linux machines, and then Fuse adapters were written to talk to those models back over to Fuse and pass the data and files that are needed. And this was done through a company called RMA, which is out in California, and they developed those adapters. They did the porting to the Linux machine of the engines for HEC-RAS and ResSim, and they maintained the adapters and the models themselves, and that's who National Water Center contracts with to maintain those if we have any changes that are needed. Okay, my last slide, quite a short presentation, is, how did CHIPS then end up in VLab? Well, initially CHIPS ran at all three RFCs on hardware that was purchased and maintained by the Weather Service. Those were considered not part of AWIPS. It is behind the firewall, and getting data through AWIPS and what have you. But those machines were separate than the standard, baseline machines for a AWIPS site. And what was then done was it was a bunch for us to maintain. Us at formerly OHD and the HSD group had to, every time these machines had problems or needed repairs, we were responsible in maintaining those machines. So what we decided to do is that then CHIPS would then be placed on new hardware that's procured and maintained by AWIPS, and those machines are referred to as RP1, RP2, and RP3. And now that CHIPS is on those machines, it's now considered part of AWIPS. And being part of AWIPS, we now have to do certain things if we want to have this system updated, the software to be upgraded on those machines at the river forecast centers. So some of that processing is that we need, that process is we need to create a DCS, needs to be created, and that's in Redmine to track its release progress as we're going through testing and what have you. Just this week, I got my introduction to Redmine, and I created a DCS. We had one back in April for our previous release at CHIPS, so I did create one now for our next go-around of updating CHIPS, which we're looking forward to do in the beginning of October. Another thing we need to do is then release scheduling instructions need to be written with input from us, NWC, and also from FSI, who supports CHIPS once it's operationally in the field, and we work with Sanford on that, and he the one who writes them all up in that, but it's our input of how it should be installed. Then a final thing, a third thing is this needs to get checked into AWIPS somehow for distribution to the RFCs. This is pre-me. I just came onto the project as far as managing it when we had the reorg in April and May. But some decision was made that, okay, for the check-in to AWIPS and how it would be passed on, we're going to use VLab. So that's where CHIPS now is coming into VLab. So approximately every 6 months, we've only done this once now back in the end of April, is that we will take our full CHIPS package that has been tested out in the field at some beta sites, package all that up, CHIPS being the Fuse, the OHD core, the HEC-RAS, ResSim, is documentation, put that all into one large tarball, and then we will check that into the VLab repository, and I lost my screen here. VLab repository, like I said, I'm not that familiar with VLab. If Gotham's on the line, you can correct me. In some area called CHIPS-RTS, and then a directory, what have you, a repository known as scheduled releases. And that's where we place the full CHIPS package, and then we notify the, I believe the AWIS program office and Raytheon and whoever the correct folks are to say, the package is in there, ready to be distributed and released. So that is as far as I know, our interaction with VLab as far as chips. And Greg, that's what I have. I'd be happy to answer questions if I confused a lot of folks.
Thanks, Russ, and I'm glad we finally got the technical difficulties worked out here. Are there any questions for Russ?
Yeah, Russ, Steve Smith, so you're new to this. Have you chatted or considered, creating like a CHIPS community in the other side of the VLab, the LifeRay side, where you would basically, at a minimum, sort of provide a schedule for CHIPS users, any sorts of troubleshooting guides, et cetera, where, and a forum, for example, where people could, either for troubleshooting or for providing feedback on how CHIPS is working.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm not aware of that CHIPS community. Like I said, I'm pretty much stay out of all this. Gotham Suit is the one who does work with VLab, and our purposes now is just to check it in. Steve, as far as getting feedback and the like, the FSI, the Field Services Integration Team, the former HSD support group CHIPS, they are the ones who interact with the field, and they have a system called FOBBugs where things are reported for any type of deficiencies or enhancements that are needed. Will they be moving to this CHIPS community thing? I don't know. I could mention it to them. I know they're looking to get off of that FOBBugs and move to another reporting system. But I guess you're saying more than just reporting issues, to get information out and manuals and stuff, or just?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things in your response to my question. So for tracking of user issues and things like that, you could actually do that through Redmine as well.
Okay.
A couple of projects that we are currently in there do that already, where users can go directly into the Redmine site and report an issue. So that might be, if they're looking to get off an old system, that might be very effective. On the community side, I don't know if there's a CHIPS community there yet, but but one could certainly be created. It's based on the description you gave of the project, and yeah, it's really to provide outreach to your users, create a place where people can share information, document whatever things you think would be valuable to share with your users with regard to the overall CHIPS effort. Strategic plans, PowerPoint presentations, training materials, and you can have a blog set up. So if you have some CHIPS, subject matter experts who want to blog about different things CHIPS related, they could do that in this community as well. So it's it's a possibility that something that you could consider to expand and make your existing real community of CHIPS users more valuable, I guess, and make their experience more rich, etc.
Okay, would the users all have to be then from the Weather Service?
No, they would. No, anybody in NOAA is automatically has access to the VLab. If you have users who are external to NOAA, we can bring them in on a sort of person-by-person basis.
Okay.
So depends on how many you're looking at.
Yeah, it's not our users of what we call CHIPS are our 13 river forecast centers. There are other users, that whole community part, not the community part of CHIPS, but with Fuse being used as, let's say, TVA and BPA and like the folks down in Australia, we have common things we want to talk about specifically to do with Fuse, not necessarily. They could ask questions about the OHD core stuff, and we'd be happy to answer that. But we do have some folks is, I guess it's mostly of the Fuse system is, hey, you had a new model, did you try this? We want other features added in. And for Deltaris, they do have a community that, that's specifically for Fuse. But I see what you talk about for the chips community. We could host one there. Now, Steve, is there a community existing now that I could just browse through or look at?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you log in, the landing page will show you, everything that you could sign up for. You could sign up and basically peruse around and see what's there to give a sense for what different groups are using the LifeRay software to in this community concept.
Okay. This is Ken.
Yeah, and go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to mention that there actually already is a CHIPS community. It's not being used. It doesn't appear to be used actively right now. I think there are between 20 and 30 members, but so they could definitely build upon what's there.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, great. I was unaware of that. Okay, great. I'll look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's CHIPS is obviously going to be around for the long haul. So any sorts of documents that you want to store, materials that you want to share, you can put them in your community, and we'll basically take care of them for forever.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about managing that. You don't have to develop. It's basically that type of resources, and you don't need a purchase card to get involved. It's all free.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think CHIPS will be around. NWSR Vets was around 25, 30 years, so I think we'll stick with this for a while. And yeah, that's good to know. I'll look into that, and maybe we'll start building that up. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Russ? Okay, if not, I want to thank Russ again for managing through the technical difficulties we had. And we'll go ahead and continue on with the rest of the meeting. I've got a couple more fast facts before we get to our roundtable. And these two are pretty fast. We've had one of our new VLab partners has been given the task to build out a number of communities at the National Severe Storm Lab, and as part of his newfound appreciation of the VLab, he's been asking a lot of questions, and I think I want to go ahead and share a couple of them with him here. One of the things that he's been doing is developing a community that has a numerous number of external partners, and he found it kind of time-consuming to go through the external partner request for each and every one of these. So we've come up with a solution that works for this right now, that if you do have a community that you want to add, let's say, more than 10 external partners to, rather than filling out the external partner form for each and every one of those, we suggest you go ahead and open up a Redmine ticket in the virtual lab project, and just attach something like a spreadsheet or something like that with all the relevant data needed for each of those external partners for that. And then the VLab support team will be able to handle that for you. And after they go through their process of adding each one at a time, then all should be good. So that lessens the load on the requester side. Another thing that he asked about was the maximum capacity of our document libraries on our community side. And right now there's actually no cap on the disk usage per document library per community, although there is maximum storage space in the VLab right now. But there, for specific files that you would upload to the library, there is a maximum size of 100 megabytes. So that usually would take care of pretty much everything except perhaps large video files and that kind of stuff. So, for example, one of the things that we're doing with these meetings is that we are recording all the meetings and making them available as videos, but because the VLab has some restrictions on file size, we go ahead and we post these videos to YouTube instead and provide the links to those. So anyway, that's it with the Fast Facts. Are there any questions before we open it up to the roundtable discussion? Okay, so now we're going to open it up to the roundtable. Any of you attendees that would like to discuss anything related to the VLab, have any questions or any information you want to share, just go ahead and jump right on in. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, can you hear me?
Who's this?
This is Jim Calkins.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, I have a question about the Google Analytics. I posted this to the Google Analytics community a week or two ago, but I haven't heard a response yet. So I wanted to bring it up here and see if anybody had any thoughts on it. When I was looking at the background information for Google Analytics, and I actually signed up through Google to get an account so that I could post that to my community. Or excuse me, add that to my community. I saw a mention in there that you should not use Google Analytics unless there is some sort of specific disclaimer on your site that says that non-personally identifiable information is going to be collected, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I don't know if anybody else has set up Google Analytics for their virtual lab community, but if they have, I was wondering how they handled that or if they even did anything about it.
Ken Sparrow was and Tatiana Gonzalez from the VLab team set it up for the entire VLab. Ken, you want to respond?
Yeah, when we were looking at the language regarding that, I think that becomes an issue if it's a public site. As opposed
which mine
to,
is.
Right. So we didn't, because all users, the public aspect of Virtual Lab and VLCS is really just now starting to happen. So we didn't deal with it there. One thing you could do is you could put a notice within the pages themselves, so you could accomplish it that way. I don't know. I guess I'd need to go back and look at the language.
Yeah, I thought about drafting some. Sorry, I thought about drafting some language that I could put into there. But one, I wanted to do it consistently across all the communities,
Sure.
And two, there's technically a lot of pages to our community because I've got a lot of documents uploaded into the document library, and I suppose I don't know exactly how, if you would have to go through each individual page and put that disclaimer there. I doubt it's good enough just to put it on the front page.
Yeah. So if you'd like, the other thing that we could explore doing is modifying the public layouts that are being used in the theme, and what we could do then is we could change, so basically the way VLCS works is that there's a theme, and the theme controls the layout of the page, and there's the area at the center where you can drop your portlets, and that's very configurable. Right. There's this footer and the header portion, and
okay.
So we could actually change that so that, and that probably is the best approach because this is going to apply to all public pages. So if you are willing to help with drafting that language, we can help with modifying the theme and then working to basically develop a public theme. It would, for all intents and purposes, it would look just like what we have today, but we would have some sort of language. We'll have to figure out what makes the most sense, but we could definitely do that. And that way you're not having to worry about putting it onto every page. So.
Yeah, that sounds great. Would I send the language to you or someone else?
Why send it to VLab admin, and we'll get a ticket going on this. So.
All right. We'll draft that up. Thanks. That was great.
Thanks, Ken, and thanks, Jim. Anybody else have anything that they'd like to contribute? Okay. All right. I think we've reached the end of this monthly installment of the new Project and Community Owners meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 23rd at this time slot. I will be making this recording available on YouTube, and I will email everybody the location of that recording. That's all we have for today. I'd like to thank all of our presenters and attendees as well. Thank you very much.